All right, I know it was a couple days ago, but I want to go ahead and talk a little bit about this Bill Barr hearing with the House Judiciary Committee, and it was an absolute shit show. I mean, the Democrats really showed their asses on this one, and you could see that it was a partisan hit job from the first moment. They hardly even let the man talk. Normally, when you have a hearing like this, you're going to ask your questions and then you're going to listen to what the person has to say. And there are videos going around right now, compilations of all of the times that they would start to talk, or they would make their points or say whatever the hell they wanted to say, and then William Barr would try to respond, and the minute he tried to respond, reclaiming my time. And then they had the audacity to say that he was rude throughout the entire thing. It was absolutely ridiculous. And before we talk about this, I do want to talk about the genius that it was for Trump to bring in William Barr as the Attorney General for a few reasons. First, because he's already served as the Attorney General under the first George Bush, H.W. Bush. So he served as the Attorney General under George H.W. Bush, and nobody had a problem with him, either side of the aisle. So he brought in somebody with a track record, had already done the job, had no partisan issues, and of course, because he ends up defending some of the things that Trump does, because Trump is trying to actually chase down criminal activity within the government, which is by the letter of the law, they hate him. And, another interesting thing is he was retired. He was a very wealthy man. He was retired, and so it kind of puts a pin in any of their arguments that he is a Trump lackey, because we know that he had no real affiliation to Donald Trump, or any affiliation whatsoever, as far as I know of, to Donald Trump before he was asked to come back and serve as the Attorney General again. And so you can't say that he's been in Trump's book or in Trump's pocket or been a friend of Trump for decades and decades or years and years or anything like that. So he comes in and his job is just to uphold the law. And they hate it because Trump is using the law to go after their actions. And so, obviously, if they've been breaking the law and William Barr is going after them for breaking the law, and Trump is, happy about it because they are his political opponents, well, they're assuming that that William Barr is only doing it at the behest of Trump. But because of all the reasons that I stated just a minute ago, we know that he's just a man doing his job. And so it was really a brilliant hire on Trump's part. But let's get into this. Let's get into this article. So Democrats launched a full-scale assault against Attorney General William Barr at Tuesday's House Judiciary Committee hearing, clashing with Barr repeatedly as the hearing jolted from topic to topic. Here are the top takeaways from Barr's first appearance before the Judiciary panel in his 17-month tenure as Attorney General. Democrats were out for blood. Yes, they were. So House Judiciary Chairman Jerry Nadler, who was an hour late because he got in some car accident, which, God, if anybody saw that Fleckus Talks video of Jerry Nadler, where Fleckus, he runs a YouTube channel where he typically goes to places and he approaches people, and, he's very disarming in the way that he talks, but he asked Jerry Nadler about Antifa violence, and Jerry Nadler actually had the gall to say that the Antifa violence was just a myth being promulgated in Washington, D.C. Meanwhile, we got videos galore out there of Antifa bombing or firebombing the federal courthouse in Oregon. And I had no idea how short the dude was. I mean, the dude is an Oompa Loompa. Holy shit. Anyways, I just thought that was funny. So, House Judiciary Chairman Jerry Nadler of New York and the panel's Democrats did not offer Barr any niceties congressional witnesses typically receive. Democrats repeatedly cut off Barr's responses, accused him of being wrong or lying, and made clear that they weren't interested in the explanations he was offering. No, which was so ridiculous. I mean, if you're bringing somebody in for a hearing, you should be interested in what they have to say, which is why it's called a hearing. But they didn't want to hear anything. Barr wasn't allowed extra time at the end of each lawmaker's 5 minutes to respond to questions that witnesses typically receive, forcing Republicans to use their time to let Barr push back on the Democratic accusations. It was absolutely ridiculous, and they knew that the few words that Barr actually was able to get in, he put them to shame, and so they knew that the more they let him talk, the more shameful they were going to look. I mean, there really wasn't a way for them to escape looking shameful because just the tactics of shutting up the person that they brought in to hear out is shameful in and of itself. It was a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation for the Democrats because, as always, they're on the wrong goddamn side of everything. So the effort was clearly part of a strategy from Democrats to show that they had already rendered their verdict on Barr's tenure as Attorney General, and nothing he could say would sway that. Democrats charged that Barr was putting President Donald Trump's interests ahead of the country, and they attacked the Attorney General on his involvement in the prosecution of cases involving Trump's associates, his responses to police protests, his response to coronavirus, his removal of a U.S. attorney, and many more topics. I mean, again, like I said, they're going to call him Trump's lackey, but that's because Trump actually wants the law enforced against all the crimes that Democrats have committed. And Barr, being somebody who is upholding the letter of the law, is very mild-mannered, very forthright, and has even criticized Trump for his tweets. He's just doing his damn job. But if they're on the wrong side of the law, all they can offer is that he's Trump's lackey. That's all they got. The final Democratic questioner, Representative Veronica Escobar of Texas, accused Barr of refusing to uphold his oath to defend the Constitution, prompting the ranking Republican Representative Jim Jordan of Ohio to vocally protest the accusation while Nadler gavelled the hearing to a close. Yeah, I mean, what a ridiculous accusation that he's refusing to uphold his oath to defend the Constitution. Name one thing that Trump has done, or not even that Trump has done, that Barr has done under Trump, that is against the Constitution, that defies the Constitution. Oh, wait. No, in fact, I won't because I got a video to go on. But, if you could think of something, then drop it in the comment section below, and I guarantee you that you're very misguided on what you think was actually happening. Black lawmakers called out Barr. Some of those powerful moments of Tuesday's hearing came from black Democrats on the panel who questioned Barr's assessment of systemic racism in policing and the response to nationwide protests following the killing of George Floyd at the hands of Minneapolis police. I mean, I'm so tired of this racism trope. I mean, it's like an old Hollywood trope that has just been run into the ground, no longer has any effect. I mean, at this point, we know that it's nothing more than a cultural Marxist browbeating process in order to get people to just kowtow into submission. And I'm glad that Bill Barr stands his ground on this. I mean, all of the stats show that there is no... We don't have police killing black people at any higher rate. In fact, some studies have shown even at a lower rate than white people when you factor in criminality rates and everything. So, and here we have Representative Sheila Jackson Lee. Now, this is the same representative that was talking about... she was pushing for gun control, of course, which, if she realized the roots of gun control were actually racist in their origins, she probably wouldn't give a shit, because none of these Democrats actually mean what they say. But she was talking about gun control one time, and she was talking about the AR-15, and talked about how it weighed as much as 10 boxes that you would move, and shoots 50 caliber bullets. It was the dumbest thing ever. So, Representative Sheila Jackson Lee, a Texas Democrat, if you're from Texas, you should know your guns, urged Barr to recognize institutional racism in policing when he said that he disagreed that it exists in police departments. I mean, urged Barr to recognize. That's basically urging him to agree with her stance. This is what the Democrats do, is they browbeat the premise out of you, and then they can control the narrative from there. That's what they do. And so if you are a person of any spine and any personal constitution, do not allow them to browbeat false premises out of you, because then they will control the narrative, they will control the conversation, they will control the debate, they will control the discussion from there on. You can't allow them to do that, because they will run rampant with you. And we know that they have no boundaries for how far they will take things. I mean, you could have it... We could give every black person in the country $3 million, and all of a sudden there's going to be a reason why it's not enough. There's never enough to appease leftists, because all they want is more, more, more. They want to destroy what is not theirs and take it for themselves. That is the leftist playbook, and that's what the Democratic Party has become. They've become the leftist, Marxist wing of our government. I would hope that the DOJ would focus on systemic institutional racism, Jackson Lee responded. That's what we need. That's what we need you to join us on, Mr. Attorney General. No, he doesn't have to join you on fuck all. You know, you're a representative. You want to go out there. You want to make your cases. Sure, but we know that it's all based on statistical lies. And so you can't just demand that the Attorney General is going to jump on board to your fallacious argument that you use to browbeat power out of people. All right. So that's what we need you to join us, Mr. Attorney General, and recognize that institutional racism does exist, and until we accept that, we will not finish our job and reach the goals and aspirations of our late iconic John Lewis. And of course they're going to incite the name of a recently deceased civil rights activist as another means to browbeat the point home and steal the premise. So Louisiana Rep. Cedric Richmond called out Barr for invoking Lewis. Okay, there we go. The Georgia Democratic congressman who died earlier this month in his opening statement while failing to have any black people among his own senior staff. Oh, called out Barr for invoking Lewis. I mean, that, sir, is systemic racism. No, that's not systemic racism. I mean, you can hire whoever the hell you want. I mean, I don't know how big his staff is. I have no idea, or his senior staff is. I have no idea how many people that constitutes. But you can't, he probably, as somebody who did the job years ago, I'm sure he had a lot of people that he already knew that he wanted to bring back into the fold. Let's see, that, sir, is systemic racism. That is what John Lewis spent his life fighting, and so I would just suggest that actions speak louder than words and keep the name of the Honorable John Lewis out of the Department of Justice's mouth. What? I mean, imagine these people in control of the country. They're going to determine what you can say, what you can talk about, what you personally, or you categorically, really is more honestly, what you categorically have a right to talk about and what you don't have a right to talk about. We see this already in the conversation about racism. You know, we're told if you're a white person, especially if you're a white male, to just shut up and that you don't have a place in the conversation. We hear that in abortion rights. You know, if you're a man and you don't have to carry the baby and you don't get pregnant, you don't have a voice in this conversation. Well, yes, the fuck we do. Everybody has a voice in every conversation. The Louisiana Democrat also poked holes in Barr's talking point that 11 white people and 8 black people were killed by police this year, noting that was actually a glaring disparity when 85% of the population in the U.S. is white and 15% was black. Hold on. Full stop. 85% of the population is white and 15% is black, as if Latinos and Asians and Native Americans do not exist. Wow. You want to talk about racism? He just said that nobody but blacks and whites even exist in America. I mean, I don't know whether this guy... I don't know whether he was just trying to pump that number up to 85. The real number is, I think, somewhere between like 60 and 65% is white. It's not even that great of a majority anymore. But I mean that's like one of those moments where shoot, who was it? Which I forget which congressman it was, talked about Guam tipping. I mean, that's about, I think he was from Georgia too, which I'm from Georgia, and it was shameful. It was such a stupid line. And I can't believe, I'm actually surprised CNN even posted that, because it's that makes the Democrat rep look bad. I mean, that makes Cedric Richmond, I believe that was Cedric Richmond, look like a goddamn idiot. So I'm surprised CNN included that, unless they really think that their audience is as stupid as they are, or as this Cedric Richmond guy is. So GOP highlights attacks on police. Republicans had their own strategy going into Tuesday's hearing to show that the attacks that have occurred against police officers. Jordan ended the opening statement with a lengthy video splicing together descriptions of peaceful protesters with scenes of CNN actually put peaceful protesters in quotes. That's interesting. With scenes of violence and rioting that have occurred in recent weeks, including attacks on police officers. Wow, they even used the term rioting. what is going on with CNN? I mean, this almost seems honest. This almost seems like an honest article, at least to some degree. In questions, Jordan asked Barr at one point if St. John's Church outside the White House would be standing if it were not for the police response, and at another, if the courthouse in Portland would be a federal. It's weirdly oddly worded. Sorry. In questions, Jordan asked Barr at one point if St. John's Church outside the White House would still be standing if not for police response, and at another, if the courthouse in Portland would be if federal officers were not protecting it. Okay, yeah, that's an oddly worded sentence. Republicans also questioned Barr on his comments that Antifa is a domestic terror threat while criticizing Democrats' descriptions of Antifa and the protests. Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. I mean, let's see. Barr joined in the criticism, questioning why Democrats weren't condemning the violence. Yeah, why won't they? I mean, you would think that no matter what side of the aisle you're on, that you're going to condemn violence against peace officers in America. You would think so. But we haven't gotten word one from the Democrats condemning any of it. This intolerance and attacking people. That's not a full sentence. I was very worried about that. And now we've seen it sweeping through the country like this. And I hope the Democrat Party takes a stand against the violence, Barr said. But they won't. You know they won't. Barr says he's independent but shows his political stripes. All right, we're probably going to get a little bit of gaslighting in here. In his opening statement, Barr declared he was independent of Trump, but he also showed some political tendencies throughout the hearing. Barr was pressed repeatedly on the government's response to coronavirus, sidestepping questions on Trump's action and inaction to combat the pandemic. I'm not sure that that's really Bill Barr's area of expertise. I'm not really sure that has anything to do with Bill Barr. Trump's handling of the coronavirus. Maybe there's something that I'm missing, but that seems like just trying to get an opinion and trying to get him to smear Trump. Just trying to bait him into smearing Trump. I don't see how that has anything to do with anything. When Representative Debbie Murkisell Powell of Florida asked whether Florida GOP Governor Ron DeSantis was doing an incredible job, as Trump had said in March, Barr deflected by going after a Democrat governor instead. Did Andrew Cuomo do an incredible job? Barr said of New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. That's probably because he probably has no investigation of Ron DeSantis going on, and his department probably does have an investigation of Andrew Cuomo going on, because Andrew Cuomo sent all of those COVID-infected people into nursing homes that led to the deaths of tens of thousands of elderly in New York. Well, it wasn't just New York. It was also Michigan, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and one other state that I forget. Was it North Carolina? I don't think it was North Carolina. Barr also claimed that the Obama administration blamed the Obama administration on Tuesday for problems with COVID-19 testing, saying it was a function of President Obama's mishandling at the CDC. It's a false claim that has been made. I'm sure it is a false claim that has been made by Trump and other Republicans. Hold on. The initial faulty coronavirus test was developed this year. It's a false claim. So first of all, they never actually say what Barr's false claim was. Look at that. Barr also blamed the Obama administration on Tuesday for the problems with the COVID-19 testing, saying it was a function of President Obama's mishandling at the CDC. That's not specific. You can't actually say that that's a false claim because we don't know exactly what claim is being made there. So I think CNN's playing a crafty little trick here. So they're going to say it's a false claim that's been made by Trump. So they're not even saying that it's the same claim that Barr made. Do you see the sleight of hand that they're pulling here? The initial faulty coronavirus test was developed this year. Well, I think there were faulty ones coming from China as well, and that's why we declined the ones that China was offering, because we knew that they were faulty. And Barr's explanation of his awareness of what the president wanted seemed to wax and wane during the hearing. I don't know what that means. Asked about Trump's tweets about Roger Stone, in which Trump attacked the Stone sentencing recommendation hours before Barr pushed for lower recommendation, Barr said he did not read the president's tweets. That's because they were looking to give him 9 years for making false statements to the feds. It was anybody, any AG worth their salt would say that's insane and lower it. Any observer would say that. I mean, the fact that they were trying to give Roger Stone 9 years was absurd. So, yeah, I think you're going to have Barr and Trump both line up on the fact that that's a fucking absurd sentencing recommendation. At that point, I learned about the president's tweet because... tweets because I don't monitor the president's tweets, Barr said. Later, Barr said of the president's tweets, I don't pay attention to that unless they're brought to my attention. Which sounds about right. Of course, Barr previously said Trump's tweets needed feed a much bigger role into his day-to-day responsibilities, saying in a February interview after the Stone decision that the president's tweets make it impossible for me to do my job. Well, that doesn't necessarily mean that he's tracking all of Trump's tweets. It means that every once in a while, Trump makes a tweet that gives him trouble. That's not the same as tracking his tweets. So he's not contradicting himself there. And that's the problem with the left, is they have no understanding of any kind of nuance that actually occurs. It's all gotcha moments. It's all gotchas. And it's funny, all the lefties that I see on Facebook that are always posting these stories about, they're all trying to get you gotcha moments, and they can't see the incongruities and how things don't line up analogously. Is that a word? They use analogies that just don't work. They see one similarity and then discard all of the differences. And so and just ignore that the comparison actually falls flat. Barr defended his actions with Stone and the decision to drop charges against Michael Flynn. Yeah, because Michael Flynn was fucking set up by the Obama administration. It was an absolute setup. And the fact, don't even get me started on that, because they're still trying to hold that case in limbo. It just went to some sort of in-bench type thing where they're going to have all of the judges in a certain court rule over it, because they're just trying to hold this thing up. And Barr defiantly challenged his critics to show him one instance where one of Trump's political enemies had been indicted. Exactly. There haven't been. There should be. There will be. At least I hope so. There better be. Of course, while the Justice Department has not indicted Trump's enemies, prosecutors are investigating Trump's opponents and critics from the Obama administration, including the probe of the FBI Russia investigation led by U.S. Attorney John Durham that's scrutinizing former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper and CIA Director John Brennan. Oh yeah, they're investigating those motherfuckers because those motherfuckers did some dirty deeds. And they need to be investigated. The Democrats just think that they get a pass on everything. And the problem is, for years, Republicans have given them that pass. Well, now, no more. And so these spoiled Democrats, who have gotten used to just getting everything they want, getting away with any crimes they wanted to commit, bullying anybody into submission however they wanted to, running whatever double standards they wanted to run, They've gotten so comfortable with their ability to do that they don't even know how to handle themselves once they run into a disciplinarian that actually says no. All right, so the Justice Department has guidelines against taking action that could influence an election. Barr on Tuesday declined to comment to refraining from the issuing Durham's findings before November 2020. Wait, hold on, that was odd. The Justice Department has guidelines against taking actions that could influence an election. Barr on Tuesday declined to comment on refraining from issuing Durham's findings before. Yeah, I don't know. I hope they release some of those findings. I mean, criminality is criminality. Fuck an election. If you're running for office and you did some criminal shit, we actually deserve to know about that before we try to elect that person into office, right? Don't the people deserve to know? According to the Democrats, no. The people don't deserve to know because it's gonna fuck up their power. And all they care about is their power. They don't care about the people. They don't care about the people actually knowing what they're doing or what's going on. They just want the power. Barr's dubious voting claims. Oh, this is going to be rich. Another key instance where Barr has backed up Trump is on voter fraud tied to mail-in voting. Anybody with common sense is going to back Trump up on voter fraud being tied to mail-in voting, especially when you realize that we've already had a handful of indictments for voter fraud in mail-in voting, just in local elections. You think that shit's not going to happen nationally? It's going to run rampant nationally. Mail-in voting, which Trump has falsely claimed will lead to massive fraud and rigged election. How can you say that he falsely claimed that? For one, you can't say it's false because it hasn't happened yet. It's his guess, it's a prediction, and it's an educated guess and prediction based on what we've seen and the common sense of knowing that you don't actually have the security that you have in in-person voting with mail-in voting. There's so many moving parts. I mean, whether a ballot actually arrives at a person's house, whether, once that person turns in their ballot, does the postman see it and throw it away? Does he turn it in to be sent? Does it get lost in the mail? Does it make it to its location? When it gets to its location, does it get bundled and tossed aside? Can it get mixed in with other mail? There's so many different things that can go wrong with mail-in balloting that anybody with common sense would know that this is not a safe. It's not a safe way to handle your voting process. Barr said at the Tuesday hearing that a full vote-by-mail election was a high risk of significant voter fraud. Yeah, it absolutely is. But those claims wilted under closer scrutiny. No, they don't. When Rep. Mary Gay Scanlon, a Pennsylvania Democrat, asked Barr to provide evidence that mail-in voting risked of foreign. Guys, get yourself a copy editor. Get yourself a copy editor. You got some really poorly written articles here. That mail-in voting risk of foreign countries producing counterfeit ballots. One of the key allegations Barr has made about fraud. Barr could not do so. No, because that's not something you need evidence. I swear, these people, if these people were running like an actual war, and they were set up to defend something, you could see just a hole. You could see that you have a glaring hole on one side of your encampment, and be like, "Hey, I think we need to shore that up and shore up our defenses there." What, do you have evidence that we're going to be attacked there? Well, no, but I have the ability to see that there's a security weakness there. So if somebody does attack, we want to be prepared. Oh, what false claim? Right, we're under attack from that side of the encampment. Go home. No, you can clearly see the security risks in mail-in balloting. You don't need evidence. And that's one thing about the left, is they're so clinical about everything. Everything has to be so scientific and so studied that they completely negate that you can just see with your own eyes. Not everything has to be clinical. Not everything has to be a study. Not everything has to be numerically defined. Not everything has to be a data point. We are human beings. We have intellect. We have foresight. We have the ability to see things ourselves without running some massive academic study on them. It's insane. Barr struggled with other election-related questions too, saying that he hadn't looked into whether Trump could move the date of the election, and initially answered, "It depends," when asked if it was appropriate for presidents to accept foreign election assistance. After a second attempt, he said it was never appropriate. Asked what he would do if Trump lost the election but refused to leave office, a scenario Democrats... They have been trying to paint this scenario hard. They're trying to set it up that even if Trump wins, they're going to find a way. They're setting up this sham election so that we have no faith in the results either way. So if Trump wins, the left won't accept it, and then they'll riot. If the left wins, if Biden wins, if Biden really is the nominee, then the right won't accept it and will riot. They are setting up a sham election that is designed to have zero faith from the populace. Because mail-in voting, I can guarantee you, say absolutely zero voter fraud actually happens in this election. Of course it will, but hypothetically speaking, if zero voter fraud occurred, there's the glaring risk of it is so obvious to so many people that nobody's going to believe that it was a secure election. And that's going to undermine the results. And that's exactly what Democrats are going for. So yeah, ask what he would do if Trump lost the election but refused to leave office. A scenario Democrats have raised, and Trump is stoked by refusing to say whether he will accept the election results. Yeah, because he doesn't know, because we don't know yet whether you're going to be running a sham election. You know, if it's obvious that you ran a sham election, why the fuck should he accept the election results? Why the fuck should any of us accept a sham election? This is what I'm talking about. They want you to give them the premise so that they can construct a narrative off of that. Do not give them the premise. Barr caveated his answer, if the results were clear, I would leave. Yeah, if the results were clear. Got a feeling they're doing everything they can to muddy those results. Anyways, guys, I just wanted to give a quick response here to this article on Barr's hearing. It was an absolutely shameful show for Democrats. Barr also absolutely humiliated Eric Swalwell, which was hilarious. I mean, I guess we should all take shame in it because I'm Eric Swalwell and you're Eric Swalwell and we're all Eric Swalwell, as was Eric Swalwell's presidential campaign. He said, I guess we're all Eric Swalwell, according to Eric Swalwell. We're all Farticus. Anyways, guys, that was the video. Oh, again, as always, I forgot to do my shameless plug. So please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Parler at Ram Thorburn. And also, if you'd like to contribute to the channel, there are links to my Subscribe Star, Patreon, and PayPal listed below. All right, guys, thank you for watching, and I hope